All right, let's pull back the curtain and talk about how money really works. We're going to dive into some of the hidden rules of money and the whole global economy.
So, let's start with a question that seems almost too simple. Why isn't $1 just worth £1 or £1? I mean, they're all just pieces of paper, right? Or, numbers on a screen. What actually gives them their value?
Well, the answer reveals the very first hidden rule of the game. The value of money has almost nothing to do with the paper it's printed on. Think of a currency like it's a share of stock in country incorporated. Its value goes up and down based on how well that country's economy is doing, its trade, and, this is a big one, how much people all over the world trust it. If an economy is booming and productive, more people want its currency, so its value goes up. It's this massive global competition. Okay, so that leads to a pretty logical question then. If a country needs money for, say, roads or schools, why not just fire up the printing press and make some more? Let's break this down with a super simple story. Imagine a tiny town with 100 people and 100 loaves of bread. Everything's in balance. Then, the government prints double the money and gives it to everyone. Great! Everyone feels richer, but here's the catch. There's still only 100 loaves of bread, so what happens? The baker just doubles the price. You didn't actually get richer, the value of every single dollar just got cut in half. And it all boils down to this. Money has to represent real stuff. Actual work, resources, new ideas. Just printing more paper doesn't create any of those things. So that basic idea that money has to represent real value is the bedrock of our whole global economy. And that economy, it runs on a gigantic, interconnected machine of debt. I mean, just look at that number. Every major country is trillions of dollars in debt. But that begs the question, if everybody owes money, who exactly are they all paying it to? And this is where it gets kind of wild. The debt is owed to millions of different lenders. When a government needs to borrow, it sells bonds, which are basically just fancy IOUs. And who buys them? Well, its own citizens do through things like pension funds. Other countries like China and Japan buy a ton of them. And get this, even other parts of the US government buy the debt. This whole system also includes weird things like tariffs. You hear about them like they're a penalty on another country, but that's not really how they work. A tariff is actually a tax paid by the company importing the goods. That American company has to pay it. So what do? They just raise their prices to cover the cost. And that price hike gets passed all the way down the line until it gets to you. So we've talked about what happens when prices go up. But what happens if the whole machine slams into reverse and prices actually start to fall? It's called deflation. And yeah, cheaper stuff sounds amazing, right? A dream come true. But in reality, it can be an absolute nightmare for an economy. You can see how this death spiral kicks off. You hear that a new car is going to be cheaper in a few months, so what do? You wait. But millions of other people are thinking the exact same thing. Suddenly, car companies see their sales completely tank, so they have to lay off workers. And now, with less money in the system and the expectation of even lower prices, people spend even less. The whole economic engine just seizes up. Okay, so this global system is obviously super complex. And that complexity, well, it creates opportunities, both for creating totally new kinds of money and for hiding the old kind. This has led to some pretty radical alternatives, like Bitcoin. It's a completely different animal from the government-controlled or fiat money we're used to. Instead of a central bank that can print as much as it wants, Bitcoin is decentralized. It has a hard cap of 21 million coins ever, and your trust isn't in an institution. It's in the math and the code of the blockchain. At the same time, criminals are using that same complexity to their advantage to launder illegal money. First, they do what's called placement. They sneak the dirty cash into the financial system. Then comes layering. They bounce it around through a maze of complicated transactions to hide where it came from. And finally, integration. The money comes back looking like clean profit from a legit business. See, they're not trying to hide the money itself. They're trying to hide the crime. All right, let's bring all this big global stuff right down to the personal level. Let's explore the two very, very different ways that debt works in our world. For so many of us, the dream of just owning a home feels like it's slipping away. I mean, 50 years ago, it was pretty common for a single income to be enough to buy a house. Today, two incomes often struggle just to qualify. Housing has shifted from being primarily a place to live to being an investment asset for huge corporations. And with wages staying flat while prices have just skyrocketed, regular people are finding it impossible to compete. So to try and build some wealth, a lot of people turn to the market. And there you can play one of two very different games. You can be a trader, which is a sprint. You're trying to make quick profits in days or weeks. Or you can be an investor, which is a marathon. You buy and hold for years, sometimes decades, betting on long-term growth. One is about timing, the other is about patience. But here's the biggest secret of all, the one hidden rule that really separates the wealthy from everybody else. For them, the most powerful tool for building wealth isn't investing, it's debt. It's not a burden for them. It's their number one tool for creating more wealth. Okay, check this out. Let's say you do it the normal way. You have an asset like $10 million in stocks and you need cash. You sell it. Simple. But then, bam, you get hit with a massive capital gains tax bill. A huge chunk of your profit goes straight to the government. But the wealthy play a totally different game. They don't sell. Instead, they go to a bank and borrow against that $10 million in stock. The bank gives them a loan using the stock as collateral. And because it's a loan, not income, it's 100% tax-free. They get the cash they need, they get to keep their asset as it continues to grow, and they pay zero tax. And this reveals maybe the most important rule of all. Debt isn't just one thing. It's two completely different systems. For most people, debt is a trap. It's high-interest credit cards and loans. But for the rich, debt is a tool. It's leverage. It's tax avoidance. The system is literally designed to reward people who already have assets, letting them use debt to become even wealthier. Look, the financial world is a game. It's got a lot of hidden rules, for sure, but they're not impossible to